Hello and welcome. You're now looking at a media kit video that is niche specific that we created along with a slide deck. We made it to be repeatable on demand for any niche. So we'll now walk through the process of starting with NotebookLM and building a media kit on demand. We're going to start the process by making sure that you have a NotebookLM notebook with all of your intellectual property. You will not need studio assets, you will not need a chat, but you do need to make sure that your sources are comprehensive in everything that you have in terms of what it is that you teach, what it is that you emphasize, and how you do business. For the sake of this video, this is called a rule book. You can call it whatever you prefer for this particular NotebookLM notebook. You will be able to add sources that come from the web. You want to make sure that this is your proprietary information. So you don't want to have any sources or websites or videos that have anything in them that don't belong to you or do not reflect your original content. We're going to ask Gemini for a prompt to put into NotebookLM so that NotebookLM can produce a synthesis based on all the information that we have now uploaded. You can adapt this prompt. There's nothing magic in the way this prompt is going to work. The magic will come in the prompt that we're about to attain. So we're going to copy all this information. We're then going to head to a new conversation in Gemini. We are going to do some prompt engineering and we're going to give the prompt a persona. We're going to paste in our prompt. We're going to have a pro query if we can use one. We will then click submit and we will wait for Gemini to then give us the new prompt. Once Gemini gives us the prompt, it should be an exhaustive prompt. You want to go ahead and copy this to your docs. Once you have the prompt saved, you can then copy it and head to NotebookLM. If the notebook that you're using and you're placing inside of this prompt is not a shared notebook, you can go to the notebook section and you can place the prompt inside of the notebook. For the sake of this video, the notebook that we're going to be using is a shared notebook, and shared notebooks are not available for this interface. So we're now going to head to NotebookLM. We'll then click enter, and we will then wait for NotebookLM to give us the synthesis. We have a fairly extensive document. We're going to save it to a note inside of our studio. We will then take that note from the studio. We will then export that note to a Google Doc. Now that we have our synthesis, what we want to do is build out a document into a process. We want to do it for a Gemini Gem so that we can customize it for a specific niche or product. We're going to attach the document that we now have in Google Drive. We want to tell Gemini in plain language that what we want is for Gemini to give us the instructions for a Gemini Gem. So what the AI to do now is to write instructions for a Gemini Gem. And want the Gemini Gem to produce a document based on our synthesis. So we're going to copy all of this prompt. We're going to head back to Gemini. We're going to ask for Gemini to write the instructions for a Gemini Gem. We have our document or knowledge file attached. We're now going to paste in our prompt. We're then going to click enter. We're going to allow now Gemini to write the prompt that we're going to use for the Gemini Gem. We are going to clarify with Gemini what the default tool for the gem is going to be. Gemini states that no default tool is going to be required. So we're just going to paste the prompt into the Gemini Gem. And according to Gemini, it is going to be waiting for a blueprint document to be in the knowledge file. So we are going to go into the menu. We're going to go to the gems. We will then go to the gem manager. We can call the gem whatever we want. We're going to paste in our prompt. And we're going to write in a name so that we know what the gem is going to be doing for us. In the description, we're going to ask for documents with proof. Now, we're writing this to ourselves. We're not going to be showing this part to a client. We're just giving ourselves a reminder that we need to make sure that we make this niche specific. We are then going to click on the knowledge files. We're then going to add the file from a drive. We're then going to add in our blueprint. We're then going to click insert. Our blueprint will then be ready inside of the gem. We're now going to save the new gem. We're now going to start the new chat. And the gem is now ready. We're going to go inside of Gemini. We're going to create a new document. What we're going to do is we're going to put a document here together in Docs. And we're going to make this so that we can use it to test our gem. You would already have this information in your own database. You would not need to generate one. We're only generating one here so that we can demonstrate the process. If you were targeting a specific niche with your media kit, you should have some knowledge or documents you can upload to Gemini in writing your media kit. So coming into our gem, we're going to attach the file from the drive. And we're going to attach it here. We're then going to click Insert. What we're now going to do is we're going to ask Gemini to create a kit for this specific demographic. We're now going to ask for the media kit. We're going to make sure we're using a pro query. We're then going to click Submit. Gemini will then start the media kit generator process. Gemini does then open up the canvas. We're going to ask for Gemini now to create the actual slide deck and to export to Google Slides. Slide deck is now complete. Now it's important to note that there were a few times, and you're going to see this here, where our prompt, we basically had to go back and forth. Gemini would produce something that was not quite what we wanted, and we had to go back and forth with Gemini a couple of times, more than a couple of times, to get it to produce the actual slides. And so now we have the actual slides. What we can now do is we can export this document to slides. Once we export it to slides, we can then open up the slide presentation inside of Google Slides. We can now open the slides inside of Google Slides. We can now print this slide deck as a PDF. And so we're now going to come back to our canvas. And we're actually going to reassess, and we're going to get our document again. We're going to grab the demographic information. And what we want to do is we now want to generate an infographic. We're going to ask now Gemini to help us to create an infographic. And we want to make sure that it's going to be consistent with the information that's part of our media kit. And we want some specifics about the infographic. We're now going to click Submit. We're now going to switch over to create the image, and we're going to ask for Gemini to create the image. And our infographic is now ready. And you would come back to your Gemini conversation and you would make changes to the gem, and you'd make changes to the gem based on what worked and did not work. And so you want to make sure to tell the AI that the gem basically worked, but there were a few things that did not work when you attempted to use the gem in order to create the infographic as well as the slide deck for the media kit. So we're going to come back to Gemini. We're going to tell Gemini everything that the gem did not do correctly. And what we want Gemini now to do is to write a correct set of instructions. We're now going to click Submit. So we're now going to copy this information and we're going to correct the gem. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go into the menu. We're going to go into the gem. We're then going to find our gem. We're going to edit it. And we're going to paste in the new instructions here in this area. We're then going to update the gem. Now that we have our media kit, it's a very easy step for us to go to the slides that we have in Google Slides. And where we have our slides, we can go into our slide deck. What we can now do is we can now convert this to video. Google Slides is going to ask us if it wants all of the slides in our deck. We're not going to use the image sources. We're then going to click Next. We're going to choose the narrator. In this case, we're going to choose one that we like. We're going to use this voiceover. Once we do that, we can then create the draft video for our media kit. The process is not instantaneous, and you're going to notice here that it will take time in order to put together the entire presentation. And our media kit video is now in place. And once we've done that, that is the end of the process. So we have taken NotebookLM and we have turned it into a niche-based media kit. We've also created a gem so that all we have to do is to upload the demographic so that we can create another media kit. And we will now preview the media kit.
Welcome to the 2026 Mystery Author Blueprint, a strategy by Thomas Duncan for escaping algorithmic chaos and building sovereign wealth. Let's begin with a reality check. The mystery market is saturated with millions of new independent titles this year. If you're exhausted, you're fighting zero-click AI environments and operational fatigue. Unpredictable ad algorithms force you to work twice as hard just to maintain visibility. Volume is no longer the key. The market demands a fundamental shift in architecture. The industry is stuck in the transactional dealer mindset. chasing algorithms and relying on unpredictable cost-per-click spikes, a losing game. This is the fame trap, renting space instead of owning your audience. Your revenue ecosystem is vulnerable to every opaque algorithm update. Remember, you want to be the wizard, but not be captured by the wizard. We facilitate.
Okay, so that thanks, and I will see you in another video.